Okay, with this car, just at low speed changes, there's some sort of grinding and clashing of the cogs in the gearbox. It's a manual gearbox, it's not an automatic. So you change the gears with the gear stick, so it's it's not an automatic. The gearbox oil was changed about 1 year and 4 months ago, and it was a fairly thin oil I used. This time I'm going to do it different. I'm using 85 140 weight oil, and that's a very thick oil for a manual transmission. And I'm also using this additive. It's like a Teflon additive, and you mix it in with the oil, and I think it's Teflon based, and the gears ride on the Teflon, which is a kind of plastic I think, instead of the film of oil or the metal riding on metal of the gears. So we'll see how it goes. It's a lot cheaper than replacing a gearbox, and we'll see if it's worth a while. I'll put the oil in, and about 3 months from now I'll give the verdict. Okay, this is a video clip of the gearbox with the old oil in it, the oil that's going to be changed. Okay, the previous clip was just taking the car for a bit of a drive, just to warm up the gearbox oil. Okay, so getting underneath the car now, and we got the drain plug just there at the back of the gearbox, and we got the fill plug just there. That's the fill plug where you put the oil in, and the drain plug. So I'll just drain out the oil now. Okay, the drain plug and the fill plug are both loose. Remember, it's anti-clockwise to take a bolt out. This is aluminium, and you can strip the threads, so it's anti-clockwise. So that's clockwise, the way the clock's ticking there, it's ticking around that way. That's clockwise, so anti-clockwise is that way. Okay, I'll drain the oil. Okay, there she goes. It's fairly clean still. It is only a year and
close to a year and a half old. Okay, what I'll do is I'll clean that now. That's a magnetic drain plug. I'll clean the middle and we'll see what difference there is, and then we can find out how much metal's been coming off the gears. Okay, so as we can see, I've got a fair amount of metal out of that magnetic drain plug. So that's not a good sign. Okay, putting the drain plug back in. Okay, the fill up plug. Okay, I can see a fair amount of metallic sort of residue in that. We'll see how clean the oil is. Yeah, that oil is very used up. As I say, that oil's been used less than a year and a half. Okay, that's new oil. It's a very thick grade of oil. Okay, that's what I use to put the oil in the gearbox. This bit here goes into the in there, into the oil container, and you squeeze this and it pumps the oil up into the gearbox. Okay, I'll put this additive in now, so hopefully I can just reach through and just get it in that hole. Yeah, so I did the old toothpaste trick where I just wound it up and got it all in the hole. Okay, it's actually 140 weight gearbox oil, and there's the pump, and the tube goes in the container, and it's going into the gearbox. Okay, so close to 4 litres went in that, so I'll just put the excess oil back in. Okay, that's it, job done. There's a thicker oil and the Teflon additive. What I'll do now is take it for a bit of a test drive, and I'll let you know how that went, and we'll take it from there. Just like to point out just how bad that oil is. For a year and a half old, it's pretty well worn. Okay, after the first test drive, my impression is that it didn't really make as much difference as you'd expect. The oil was much thicker, and with that additive, the gear changes weren't as improved or smoother than I thought. You can see here the drive shaft. That does have a fair amount of movement. this is the front one here. So as you can see, there's a fair amount of movement in the maybe possibly the axle, but in the drive shaft. I'll just see how it goes. Maybe I've got a gearbox that's on its way out. Time will tell. I'll upload this video as it is. If I notice anything different while I'm driving in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'll add it to the end of this video. Okay, it's the following weekend. I've been driving it for a week, and I'll tell you what I think of the thicker oil and the additive, and it may be a little bit unexpected. I didn't notice very much difference, if any, and because of that I've got to give the thicker oil and the additive a fail. There may be some benefit, but it's only very slight, if any. Having said that, I will be using the thicker oil and maybe the additive from now on. However, I couldn't notice any real difference with the gearbox. I expected to get in the car and just, you know, notice a big difference with the gears and the changes, but there really was no difference. There's a lot of drive shaft movement, and I'll just show that now. Hello, mate. Okay, this is the front of the drive shaft, and that U-joint's good. There's probably 10mm or more of movement. Okay, now the rear U-joint. And there we can see there's about 10-15mm of movement. Okay, the previous clips were in neutral, and now we're in first gear. And there's a bit less there. Now the rear. And I'd say this time there's probably 5mm of movement. So my guess would be that the drivetrain is worn. Maybe the rear diff is worn. The U-joints are okay. It's just general wear, and that movement's probably throwing out the ratios of the gearbox and making it hard to change gears.